The business of storytelling. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday's Food for Thought. The home equity conversion mortgage has obviously become a much more complex mortgage loan. Distribution limits, set-asides, financial underwriting are just a few of the newest gears that have been added to the mechanism of the federally insured reverse mortgage. Now, as with any complex product, widget, or mortgage loan, comes a temptation for us to focus on the intricacies of the product while we possibly miss the opportunity to paint a compelling picture. Now consider for a moment the great communicators in history. They not only spoke eloquently, but they touched our hearts and our imaginations with stories. A good story is both instructive and influential. Now, why should you consider business storytelling as part of your sales process with prospective borrowers? Well, consider these points. Number one, stories make you more real to your audience, more than just a salesperson. You can draw a good story from your past borrower's experience, your parents, grandparents, or others who have faced challenges in retirement, and perhaps even those who have met that hurdle with a heck 'em. Number two, stories are instructive. A story can transform a mere product detail into a compelling narrative that is both memorable and impactful. Now, for example, you could tell how one of your borrowers delayed using their line of credit and then a few years later accessed it only to find that it had increased. Number three, stories cast a vision of what can be. Now, one approach I often used was to ask the borrower to follow along with me as I said, now imagine it's Saturday morning and you're sitting at the kitchen table drinking your coffee and you're paying your bills as you do every month. You realize after writing that last check that there's one payment you don't have to make, your mortgage. Now sipping on your coffee, you now begin to realize the freedom and the choices that this gives you as you plan that long-delayed cross-country trip to visit your grandchildren. Number four, involve the senses. Taste, touch, feel, etc. The more that you involve the senses in your story, the more likely the prospect will picture themselves actually in it, smelling and sipping the coffee at the kitchen table. You have just placed them in a new situation that they have never envisioned. Number five, stories reinforce values. Look to and reinforce the values of saving, planning, and seizing opportunity. Your prospects have saved, and more importantly, they have built up a sizable nest egg in their home. Now, what would it look like to seize that opportunity? And more importantly, what would it feel like? Number six, stories overcome objections. Incorporate common objections to a HECM loan in your story and actually how other borrowers overcame them. Now, this provides both comfort and, more importantly, social proof, as others have already taken this step, improving their retirement. So, before you sit down or speak with a prospective borrower, take a moment and consider what valuable stories that you could share that enlighten, motivate, and reassure. Now, what stories have you told when meeting with your prospective borrowers? Share your stories in the comment section below and have a great weekend.